again. I've got a short video for you on how to replace the brake pads on the CBR600, the 07 model onwards. Very simple project, something you can easily do yourself with basic tools, so I hope you enjoy it. Okay, to change your front brake pads on the CBR600 is not a difficult job. You only need a couple of basic things. You need a 5mm hex bit to undo the pins that hold the pads in, a 14mm socket to take off the caliper bolts. Now this is a track bike, so I'm required to have the caliper bolts wired, locked, so if yours is not a track bike you won't have these clips on there. So I'll just take those out first. I like using these clips because it just makes it very quick rather than having to wire them again. What I normally do is loosen the caliper pin first, the brake pad pins. Now I can take out the caliper bolts. Because the caliper bolts go into alloy, I always put a bit of sort of anti-seize grease on them. I think it's not a bad idea. So now that I've taken those out, I can just pull that off like that, and there's your pads in there. So first thing before you remove the pins completely is just put a screwdriver in there and push the pistons. So they're right back in. Now I can take the pins out completely. It's the same thing, I always put a little bit of anti-seize grease on those threads. So that pad just fell out. There's the other one there. Now, next thing I'll do is, you can see how they're quite sort of dirty and corroded. So what I do is I just put them on the wire brush on the grinder and just tidy them up. Just make sure there's no deposits or anything on there, so the pads can slide freely. So I'll just do that. So they're all polished up nicely. Here's my new pads, sintered pads. So very simple, just put them together like that and grab the caliper, drop them in there, and then with the pin here, I'll put the top one in first, just put it through. It's got to go through the, I'll just show you this again. The pin obviously has to go through those holes. I'll just see if I can get this on camera. So I push the pin in and I've got it through the first hole, and then there's a little spring clip here, which is an anti-rattle clip. So you've got to make sure that that clip is underneath the pin. So that's through the second hole, and now I can screw that in. Now the same with the second one. Put that in there. It's through the first hole, but I have to push that through the first hole, but I have to push that down to get it under, and there it is. So that's all the way in. Screw that in. Okay, so they're just finger tight at the moment, so don't forget to tighten them up afterwards. Now, I'll just get the pads back as far as I can and just place it back over the disc like that. And there you go. I'll just put the bolts in. Now tighten the brake pad pins, holding pins. That's the first one. That's the second one. And then the caliper mounting bolts, I recommend you do them or tighten them up to 45 Newton meters. So I'm just setting my torque wrench. There you go. There you go. That's a very simple job. And then the last thing to do is just pump the lever. See how it comes back to the bars. And now it's okay, because I had to pump the pads back out onto the disc. Now, one final thing to do as a safety measure. I always do this when I replace my brake pads, but you get a post-it note and you write new pads. And you stick that post-it note on the dashboard just like that. Because if you forget that you've put new pads in and you go tearing off down the street, you'll grab the front brakes and there'll be nothing there. And the next thing you know, your neighbours will be dragging you out of the bushes. So I'd highly recommend you do that so you don't forget. Okay, thanks. I hope you enjoyed the video.